Welcome to the Sports Show with Heavy Hearts. We come to you, Mike Max, Patrick Royce, Lou Nanny, and Sid Hartman. The passing of Flip Saunders today, while not completely a surprise to everyone that knew, it certainly is a shock when it happened. Sidney, you started tonight.
Well, I'm taking this especially hard, and so is my son. Was very close to Flip. I knew Flip for 43 years. I met him the first day he walked into Dutcher's office. We spent an awful lot of time together, our families and all that stuff. And for a guy, Pat Rice, he wrote a perfect column the other day. Everything was just perfect for him. And all of a sudden, he got his last chemotherapy coming up. And all of a sudden, he gets pneumonia. And not many people know this, but he's been in a coma for 6 or 7 weeks. Sheldon Burns, he's got to be the great. Hey, when something happens to him, a lot of people will be in trouble. Sheldon Burns was there twice every day. They got him to breathe a little bit at one time, but he was on life supports, and it was just. But the people at Mayo are just shocked by it. But they claim that that has very seldom happened where a guy.
But I know, but none of us are qualified to talk about the medical part of it. But I mean, if you get pneumonia and that can happen sometimes, then any treatment, then it's a tough one.
Yeah, we'd been hearing bad stuff for quite a while, but you tried not to believe it. I mean, Flip, the thing that always, kind of like Louis Danny, the thing that impressed me about Flip was he was indefatigable, man.
Yep.
He would take on everything. When he got the job in May of 2013, to be the president, he knew how bad a shape this team was in. He was everywhere. Not out promoting the team as much as being places to let people see that, hey, we're going to try to get back in your consciousness here. I saw him everywhere after he got that job.
Then they made the trade for Wiggins.
Just meeting people. But yeah, he's like Louis. He might, Louis came from the Sioux. He came from Ohio, but they're Minnesota boys.
Yeah, exactly. Louis?
You know what's unfortunate? If you stop and think about his whole career, his whole history, and he's had so much success in a lot of other things, he was probably, well, undoubtedly, I'd say right now, at the point where it was the best for his whole career of everything. Because he was president, he was coach, he was part owner, and he had a good young team that he was assembling. So he probably was at the best stage of his whole career, and he had a lot of good stages of his career, but this was probably, I'd say, his happiest point of his career. And unfortunately, he passes. Yeah, I mean, it's
another lesson to all of us. But Sid, he was a self-made guy. He came from Ohio. He wasn't the tallest, the biggest, the fastest, but he led the Gopher basketball team.
I talked to Dutcher today. He says he averaged 32 points a game in Cleveland high schools. But when he joined the Gophers, he never scored hardly at all. He said, you can say what you want. We had 3 #1 draft choices on the team, and I kept on telling our coaches, the most valuable player we got is Flip Saunders, because if he don't pass those guys and set those guys up, they're not going to be All-Americans. And McHale and Thompson and Ray Williams all played with him, and they were all #1s, and that was a great team. They were 16-3, and Michigan had Cassie Russell, I think, then. And they were 16-2.
They were 24-3. They beat Marquette in Marquette. Marquette won the national championship. They beat Indiana by 19 in Bloomington. They were defending national champions. But Flip came here with Mussy, of course. And he wasn't as crazy as Musselman, but they were joined at the hip. Really.
They were, and sometimes that meant, and those two clashed when Bill was helping Eric coach against him in the CBA.
Yeah. I was down at lacrosse one night when they were playing in the finals of the CBA, And Muss shows up to sit behind Eric to help him coach and flips.
You were there that night?
Yeah, they're down screaming at each other.
I was there
Fantastic.
in Rochester.
No, it was lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was thinking about-
Chad was doing the play-by-play.
Yeah.
A little bit. Musselman, he wasn't much older than this when he passed, was he?
No, 59.
59.
He was
Oh, yeah,
59, so
yeah,
they're
he
about
got-
the same, and
Yeah,
he got one of those that you couldn't treat too.
I think it was in Rochester, too.
maybe it was, but
Yeah.
the time I saw Bill trying to help Eric
Here's
beat
the
him.
thing. We had a guy on the Minneapolis Star by the name of Chan Keith. He became a sports minister, that no good SOB. If he
Minister
don't
that became
report,
only you could bring some
He
levity
did the
at this
Musselman
point.
if he
stuff.
don't
Yeah.
report Musselman to the NCAA, he reported him. He recruited kids from
Somehow, I think, though, this may have come out sooner.
Yeah,
than later.
right.
Just a guess.
I think Mussey's trouble started when they beat the hell out of Ohio State at
Let's
Williams
put it
Arena.
this way.
Sid,
Can I finish?
Okay.
well,
If he don't,
in other words, if he'd covered it up, we would have been a
We've never
good
been in
shape.
this mess.
Okay.
oh, I can cover that SOB up?
Yeah, yeah. But we get the gist of it. More on this when we come back. Stay with us.
Oh.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Cambria, makers of quality quartz surfaces. Ticket King. For the best price on tickets anywhere, try Ticket King. Soundpoint Audiology. Life is worth hearing. And Bobby and Steve's Auto World. Go to BobbyandSteve'sAutoWorld.com for huge savings on everything from convenience store items to everything under the hood of your car.
Quality. It's the result of shared values. The joy found in an honest day's work. Respect for true American craftsmanship and the need, not the want, to get things right. It's the result of remembering your roots, being forever humbled by how far you've traveled and forever hungry to push on further. Quality is a result. Quality is who we are. Cambria. Family owned, American made.
You're watching CW-23.
Why follow the crowd when you can stand out? Plato's Closet has the clothes, shoes, and accessories we want at value we believe in. They'll even pay us cash on the spot for our gently used stuff. So stand out at Plato's Closet.
Hey, Steve Terry here. We've been talking about bad drivers for years. It's hard to believe some people still don't get it. So what we decided to do is send some of our safe driving friends out to videotape what some of these bad drivers are still doing. I'm not sure what the guy did, but this is not safe driving. If you're looking in the rearview mirror for your makeup, you can't see what's in front of you. Driving with your knees while eating spaghetti. Enough said. If you've been hurt by a bad driver, call us right now at 612-TSR time.
The Twin Cities' best Subaru deals are waiting for you at Luther White Bear Subaru. Take a look. Buy a 2016 Legacy starting under $21,800 or lease for just $239 a month. Plus, help support White Bear Subaru's drive for Children's Hospital by donating books, toys, and more through October 31st. Perfect. Luther White Bear Subaru, Highway 61, just north of 694 in White Bear Lake.
Main Street is filled with hopes and dreams. The only thing you need is the right partner. The beacon of light that shines, that says we are in this together. That is Beacon Bank. Locally owned and community committed. They understand what you need. And they are your personal answer. Your friend in business and in life. Allow the folks at Beacon Bank to be a part of your life because they make dreams come true. Beacon Bank, it's a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Looking for a nice, big, juicy rack of ribs?
Fabulous chops, huge steaks, and the Buddy Bowl? Then J.D. Hoyt's is the place for you. Hoyt's opened in 1983, and Mike Andrews and his partner John White have kept this Minnesota tradition at the top of the food chain. Managing owner Pat Montague gives us a tour.
At J.D. Hoyt's, enjoy a relaxed atmosphere, great food, friendly service, private dining room, second to none happy hour, just blocks from the new ballpark.
Located at 394 in North Washington. Locally owned, nationally known. Hoyt's.
J.D. Hoyt's, downtown Minneapolis. Stop on by on your way anywhere in Minneapolis. You got an event, stop by J.D. Hoyt's before or after the game or the concert or whatever it is. Best pork chops in town. Welcome back to the Sports Show. You were talking about Flip Saunders.
I was talking about the best team I think they ever had in Minnesota. They had Landsberger and Oberding at the forwards, Michael Thompson at center, Lockhart was one guard, and I think Saunders was the other one.
Saunders and Ray Williams came in, too.
Then Ray Williams came in
And he's passed,
with
too.
Kevin McHale.
Yep.
Yep.
And Musselman got in trouble with the NCAA, and everything fell apart. Oberding turned pro, went to Buffalo. Musselman went out and coached San Diego.
But it was after that they had the great team.
Yeah,
that Flip led
77.
with. Yeah.
77, they had
With Jim
Thompson,
Dutcher coaching.
Lockhart, Ray Williams, Flip, and Kevin McHale was a freshman. So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
No, they were 24-3. They lost to Michigan twice. But here's what's interesting to me. I was talking to Paul Mahler the other day. He asked me, he didn't know all the bad rumors on Flip, and he asked me if he could get a hold of Flip, if he could just go over to the hospital and see it. I said, I'll send his son a text, but I don't think so. But it was interesting to me, Louis, because in the 70s, all those athletes knew each other. You know, like the baseball players, and they all knew each other. I don't think they do anymore. I don't think they hang out like you guys did with players from other teams.
Other sports we always did. I mean, of course, we had the good fortune of playing right next to that stadium where the Vikings and Twins were, so we got to see them quite a bit. And
then your hockey team, and basketball team were set up.
Everybody used Cook Halls.
Yeah, and in college, you're right. In college, we always hung out together.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't as intense as it is now, where you can't do anything else in your off season.
No.
Now it's training.
And they've given you so much control over the players year round that you can do whatever you want. What were you going to say?
Well, there was a guy who turned out to be a broadcaster from Michigan. And he turned out to be a broadcaster. He played for Michigan State. But he was a big friend of Tony Dungy. And Tony Dungy, he wanted to go to Minnesota. And what happened is that Musselman wouldn't take him. He had so many players that he went out and...
I know, you're talking about Greg Kelser.
And
Greg Kelser, yeah.
What?
Greg Kelser, yes.
He signed a whole bunch of clowns because they weren't going to play.
That was Musselman's theory, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. How tough was it, Louis, for Flip to be the president and the coach?
Well, it's got to be time consuming because, let's face it, he wasn't just president or coach. He was general manager, too.
Yes, right.
So you got 3 jobs, and that is tough because if you just look around, there is enough for each of the jobs to be consuming enough for one individual. So you do spread yourself across a lot of areas.
It's not like hockey, though, where you're running a farm system and you're running. You got a 25-player roster, and you're running a farm.
And you don't have to go scout all the guys. You know, where we used to have 12 rounds of the draft.
You gotta go to Prague and see some guys.
That's right. And so he doesn't have to run around scouting players. And usually, you know, the biggest ones are the first round. You get to see them, but after that, they don't have as in-depth scouting all over the world like the hockey does because you don't have as many rounds.
Patrick, do you remember watching him coach at Golden Valley at all? And
I got out there
this
once
guy's
or
on.
twice,
Did you
up
think
and down.
that he'd be a success
What
at
was
that
the
time?
kid he had? Was it Nelson Johnson?
Yeah, Nelson Johnson was
That
his name.
kid was 50 a game. He got, you know, right out of college.
He got Ohio kids to come here.
They hired him out there, and they'd beat teams 110 to 95. They just go up and down like this.
Well, the coaches in the Big Ten, were they hot at that Musselman? There's a guy named Ron B. Hagan who had an agent and was looking for money, and they have a Big Ten meeting. Knight quit talking to him for a while until I got them back together.
Until you got them back together, yeah.
They all agreed that nobody would take Ron B. Hagan. Musselman go take some.
Flip never played with him. Flip never played with
He
him,
never
though.
played
Flip
Hagan.
came in the year after B. Hagan and Turner and those guys and Jim Brewer left. So
Yeah, he was the next era after Williams Arena became
Yes.
kind of the hot ticket, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I was looking up something about I was looking up something today, and I saw Bill Musselman's memorial service, and Flip spoke at it, which was like a day after Malik Sealy got killed in the car accident.
Was it
So
really?
This team, yeah. But you know what when the procession out of the room. Sweet Georgia Brown, they played
Was it?
from the pregame show.
Pregame,
Maybe
yeah.
we should do that for Flip.
Yeah.
But you know, Louis, what Flip had, and you had that same feel when you were with the North Stars, was he loved marketing, didn't he? He loved this, not just the steak, but the sizzle that goes with it, and how can we bring people through the gates?
It's not only love it, he knew that it's so important to success. And so he wanted to be successful, so he was very involved in it.
Midnight Madness, whatever it was.
Well, if you go back to just what he was saying, what Pat was saying about the Gophers, as Sweet Georgia Brown, I mean, it was all marketing. They had that place was wild. Williams Arena was terrific at that time. So he had that ingrained in him, and he wanted the same thing to happen at Target Center. So he was involved in the marketing. He was involved in the drafting,
Musselman, you
involved
talking
in
about?
promotion.
No,
Sure.
Flip.
You couldn't get a ticket for that
Yeah.
Gopher game.
But I always thought that Flip would have done well in the corporate world, because he's very competitive. People don't realize how competitive he was, because he's kind of passive aggressive about some things. But he'd have been a great sales manager or something, wouldn't he?
And there's no doubt. When you got the qualities that he have of leadership and intensity and drive and determination and
Let me tell you.
Unbelievable stamina.
Political skill.
Political skill.
Let me tell you about Musselman.
He's going to be successful.
Musselman didn't have a
Why are we
brain,
talking about him?
brain in his head. They had a Timberwolves. Who was a player they had? They
We're
weren't.
back to the Gerald Glass.
They weren't
Gerald
playing.
Glass.
Huh?
Gerald Glass.
They weren't playing them. So they have a meeting in the morning. Marvin, may his soul rest in peace, but he wanted to coach too. So he says, either play this guy.
Marv Wolfenson, the owner. Go ahead.
Oh, we'll trade him. So they win that night, and the first thing Musselman says at the press conference is, I was told to play this guy. I didn't play, and I won. Next day, he got fired.
But you tell you what the difference between Flip Saunders and Bill Musselman, there it was. Flip was
Flip
very
was a
politically
politician.
savvy, wasn't he, Patrick?
Yeah, he got it back in with Glenn. You know, they had the fallout.
They had the
He
big
got back
fallout.
in. I don't know what Glenn's going to do. This could hasten him selling the team, I would think.
Well,
Yeah, it could.
he's had some good offers, but right now I don't know if you really want to sell it. But he will have his hands full, because you got to get somebody in there and make
That
a
you
good
trust.
hire
Yeah,
that you trust.
yeah.
Because the value of franchise is just soaring because of the new basketball contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could miss it, but if you don't
Yeah.
get it right, you can miss
Yeah.
on millions, huh?
Yeah, hundreds of millions.
Take a break, come back, stay with us.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Escape MSP, the fastest 60 minutes of your life.
Ever wonder, why do I hear but not understand? Scientists at Cambridge University discovered the answer. Inside your cochlea, there are thousands of tiny hearing hair cells. Poor hearing occurs when regions of these hair cells die. Amplifying a dead region with hearing aids makes you hear worse, not better. The result of this study is a hearing clarity breakthrough. Using standard test equipment, dead regions of your cochlea are identified. Then, a new type of frequency-shaping hearing aid is programmed to bypass the dead regions. Only your usable hearing hair cells receive amplification. Brilliant. A local study is underway. 100 citizens with hearing problems are needed to receive this testing and then wear the tiny device for 10 days, recording your results. Call now to see if you qualify. Volunteers may keep the product at a special discount if they desire. Don't miss this opportunity. Call now.
Hi, I'm John Hines. And Bobby and Steve's Auto World is the place you should come for car washes, oil changes, tires, As a matter of fact, anything and everything under the hood of your car. You're in great hands at Bobby and Steve's Auto World, where serving people is the most important part of their business.
Go into Bobby and Steve's Auto World for great savings on all Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. Plus, get $60 on your World Rewards card. Schedule your appointment at BobbyandStevesAutoWorld.com or just stop in.
Welcome back to the Sports Show. Mike Max, Patrick Royce, Lou Nanne, and Sid Hartman. Before we move on to a couple other sports topics today, how will you remember Flip the most?
Oh, I think he was a great operator. I think he went from nothing to coaching in the NBA. I mean, I remember him when he coached Golden Valley.
Yeah. Lutheran College.
Yeah. And then he went to lacrosse, and he coached there. And then he coached at Tulsa, assistant coach. Then he was assistant for Dutcher. Then he got a break here at they got the
McHale became the general
franchise,
manager.
And Kevin actually hired him.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Kevin, he probably would have never got the opportunity.
Well, there's no question he wouldn't have. Patrick?
You know what I remember? He was still enough of a small-town boy. When he first got the job in the NBA, he was wearing $250 suits. And, you know, NBA coaches were all wearing $2,000 suits. He upgraded.
In true Flip fashion, he upgraded without paying, too. He waited until he got the right deal.
But what I'm saying is, you'd see these other guys, see these other guys on the sidelines, and they were, wow, where'd he get that suit?
He wasn't getting any money when he got the job.
Flip first came back, he had the $250. I think Debbie was getting him the suit 2-for-1 at Nate's or something.
Then he met Cedric's out there.
Yeah, right.
And everything for a full-page ad in the Timberwolves program. It dawned on him that he could have suits, and that's who Flip was, Louis.
Nothing wrong with that. You know how to operate. That was good.
That's true.
When you look at him, you got to say, here's a guy that willed himself to the top.
Yep.
A small guy, odds against him. You never think that how is he going to get a break to get through to be so successful in pro sports, and he was able to do it.
And you know, when you think about this, just purely if you look at his contract, I mean, he didn't make a couple million, Patrick. He probably made $60-70 million in his career.
His last, the second time the Wolves signed him, that was big.
No, even before that, he was making.
Well, Detroit, Washington.
Yeah, he was making the $5 million range.
I think it was $5 million last year.
What I'm saying, his second contract with the Wolves,
Yeah.
the
That's
first
when they
time
got
he
it
coached them was the first time he started getting
Portland
paid.
came after him, and then they had to match it, and that changed his world.
Yeah.
So, a couple other sports things to talk about. The Vikings today were a piece of good news.
Well, I don't know if Detroit's terrible or the Vikings were good, but defensively, they were unbelievable today. I mean, how many sacks they have?
I don't know, but they should put a rush on after the first two touchdowns.
Last I remember.
First two touchdowns,
The quarterback couldn't throw the ball. I mean, they really went after him today. They were behind 17. What was the score?
17-3 or 17-9. Yeah.
And they came back, and the quarterback had a pretty good day. Had Briggs, did it again, boy.
Diggs. And it's Stefan, not Stephanie.
Yeah.
Okay.
They tried to overthrow him on that touchdown, but he reached out and got it. Ooh, easy.
I got to tell you,
what a nice discovery.
At right near the end of spring camp, the first camp that they have, Bob Hagan called and says, "Louis, come on over. Jerry Burns is coming over today." And I usually go with Jerry once a year to watch practice.
Listen to the
so we're going over. I get there, and they'd already started practice, and I'm coming at the back of the end zone, and this guy comes flying across, and they throw the ball. They were scrimmaging. I didn't even realize it. Maybe 3 yards from me, he dives and makes his catch. I said, "Holy crap! Who's this guy?" Yeah. He said it's a low draft choice, Diggs, but boy, is he ever good.
Yeah,
we got a new star in town.
Yeah, I don't remember a surprise like this in the last 2 years, Patrick. A low-round draft pick, I mean.
Makes up for Cordero Patterson being a stiff.
Yeah. And he just sits there on the sidelines, doesn't he, and watches.
But that's a nice win because you come out and Detroit absolutely has to win the game, and they get 2 quick touchdowns and you shut them down the rest of the day. That's a pretty good win.
And now you're 4-2, and things look pretty good with your schedule right now.
Well, they should beat the Bears. The Bears are terrible. And then
St. Louis comes here.
St. Louis comes in.
They played well today.
They have a pretty good record up until then. I think they can. Home games, I think they'll win.
The Vikings.
I do. They finally won a road game. I think those Bears are terrible. Maybe one of the worst teams in the league. Do they play at Arizona?
Yeah, Arizona in December.
Yeah.
Would have been fun if Arizona had to come here, but they're going to Arizona.
Well, if you
in
go
December.
10-6, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Heck, in the NFC, you might get in at 9-7.
And you're not going to be division champs, so you're playing for a wild card, basically.
Well, you know, they might beat the Packers here. Packers just gave up 500 yards passing.
They're not. Packers are going to win the division.
Yeah,
too
probably.
far ahead.
The last game of the season is in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And that might be good for the Vikings if the Packers have clinched, I guess. Take a break, come back, stay with us.
If you guys could go on a free shopping spree anywhere, where would you go? I'd go to the grocery store. Pizza, ice cream. I'd go shop for clothes. You know where I go? I'd go to Ticket King. Ticket King! At Ticket King, you can buy great seats for the Vikings, the Wild, the Timberwolves, and of course the Twins. We love the Twins. Yep, this is where I go. Vikings, Twins, Wild, Timberwolves, Gophers, theater, and concerts, too. For details, go to TicketKingOnline.com. Any ticket, anytime, anywhere. It's the real thing. It's Ticket King. Right, Dad?
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
That's for sure.
You're watching CW-23.
Main Street is filled with hopes and dreams. The only thing you need is the right partner. The beacon of light that shines, that says we are in this together. That is Beacon Bank. Locally owned and community committed. They understand what you need. And they are your personal answer. Your friend in business and in life. Allow the folks at Beacon Bank to be a part of your life because they make dreams come true. Beacon Bank, it's a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Don't forget the name will change, but the service will remain the same. Beacon Bank, responsive, reliable, reassuring. Alaris Banks just bought them out, but Bob Weiss and his crew will be on the scene making sure you can live your American dream. Just a couple minutes left. Louis, quickly, the Wild lost tonight, won yesterday. You put them in a good place right now?
Well, they played their best game yesterday. They were terrific against Anaheim. I have to tell you, today it could have been an unbelievable comeback. They were down 5-1. They made it 5-4, and they had a couple of opportunities and a power play at 6-4 when the game ended.
Yeah.
So they had the chances, but they gave up their goaltender. Kemper let a couple of soft ones in, and that put them in a hole. Dubnyk came in after 4 goals, and by the way, he looks like he's hurting on the knee, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing Backstrom pretty soon.
Wow.
Because Dubnyk wasn't moving, getting up very fast near the end of that game. I hope it's not bad.
I think the Winnipeg rivalry is more fun than the Blackhawks because they care. Winnipeg cares.
It really is.
Sidney, you said save some time for you. I saved some time for
Anaheim has lost 7 out of 8 games.
So don't get too excited about that one, Louis.
Yeah, it's still a good team.
So they have an excuse. Did they fire Boudreaux yet?
He's on a short leash.
Richard's gone though, huh?
Yeah,
Todd Richards.
Yeah, and that's not unexpected because Davidson worked with Tortorella. You know, Davidson was broadcasting.
Tortorella is the Mike Keenan of the modern era, isn't he?
He is, but he's a good coach. I think he's a very.
But he'll always have a job, right?
Yeah. Somebody always wants their team
Speaking of
straightened out.
SOBs, though.
You want Sid?
Sit on Sid.
Sit on Sid. Sid, finish it up. There's the camera. You said you wanted the last word here. Go right ahead.
Well, this is one of the saddest days of my life, losing a longtime friend, and I wish the best. It's a very sad day for me. Flip Saunders was a very close friend, and the guy had the whole world by the way you wanted.
Yep.
And it's pretty sad.
Yeah, something we can all learn from that. You never know day to day. Thanks for watching us today on the Sports Show. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you then.
The Sports Show is brought to you in part by Cambria, makers of quality quartz surfaces. Ticket King. For the best price on tickets anywhere, try Ticket King. Soundpoint Audiology. Life is worth hearing. Escape MSP, the fastest 60 minutes of your life. And Bobby and Steve's Auto World. Go to BobbyandSteve'sAutoWorld.com for huge savings on everything from convenience store items to everything under the hood of your car.